Donc, pour introduire ce panel, nous avons une députée qui s'appelle Elena Kountoura, qui est membre de la commission femmes du Parlement européen, membre du groupe de la gauche aussi, qui nous vient de Grèce.
Merci beaucoup à tous. Je vais parler en anglais. Dear comrades, dear distinguished speakers, dear participants, this year's Feminist Forum touches upon very urgent and timely issues. The violations of human rights is a parallel pandemic taking place, less visible. All forms of gender-based violence and abuse against women and children are on the rise and call for collective action. The growing social and gender-based inequalities are fostering the surge in such crimes, along with the lack of bold political action. To this end, at the European Parliament, we are systematically addressing issues and put pressure through reports and resolutions for an EU-wide response. I personally had the honor to be the European Parliament's rapporteur on the report for the impact of intimate partner violence and custody rights on women and children. And also, I was the rapporteur of the left on the report for combating gender-based cyber violence. These two groundbreaking reports were adopted with vast majority before the end of 2021 and were submitted to the European Commission to be included in its proposal of a European Union-wide directive on all forms of gender-based violence that we are still expecting. We called on the European Commission and all member states to adopt a holistic European framework in support of the fundamental right of every woman and child to a life without violence. We ask foremost that the Istanbul Convention be swiftly ratified and implemented by the remaining 6 member states that have not yet done so, but also by the European Union. The delay is simply unacceptable. We also urged the Commission to include gender-based violence in the Eurocrimes list. And following our initiative, the European Parliament called for decisive action to put an end to the pornographic industry built on all forms of assault and abuse of women and children that either create profit or not. This includes the growing phenomenon of revenge porn, for which we have specific recommendations on how it should be dealt. For example, national governments must take the necessary measures to ensure that no sexual image or video will be uploaded without the consent of those being filmed. And if such happens, it should also be a responsibility of the state to make sure that these videos and images are taken down immediately and that those responsible will be held accountable. We need efficiency when ensuring the accountability of websites who profit from violence against women by making billions. It is of paramount importance that holistic support is provided to women and girls whose images are shared without consent on the internet and elsewhere. The victims that are in process of suing must be guaranteed judicial support, but also economic and psychological support in their struggle to find justice. Laws must provide guarantees that no form of violence can be tolerated, but also much more is needed to be done to change the mentality of distorted gender-based stereotypes and the ill perception that women can be treated as objects of pleasure or for profit. We need more and better education across all authorities and services that deal with victims of such crimes. This is why it is imperative for member states to provide mandatory, continuous, and gender-responsive education and training for all professionals, especially for justice and law enforcement, in the fight against gender-based violence at all stages, including cyber violence. And of course, We must begin from education with schools, with specific programs, so that boys and girls will be exposed from a very young age to the values of equality and the respect of human rights and of people regardless of their gender. Men and boys need to be educated to respect women, to differentiate between violence and sex, and to understand the concept of consent. In regards to prostitution, we're still lacking quality and timely accurate data. According to European studies before the pandemic, sex trafficking victims exploited in prostitution in the European Union ranked from 90,000 to 180,000, while there is a strong consensus within the European Union on how to treat forced prostitution and human trafficking for sexual exploitation. The same does not happen with prostitution as such. At the European Union member state level, at one extreme, prostitution is considered a profession and is therefore legal and regulated, while at the other extreme, it is criminalized. The European Parliament, in its resolution of February 2014 on sexual exploitation and prostitution and its impact on gender equality, linked both prostitution and forced prostitution to gender inequality, since they both have an impact on the status of women and men in society, their mutual relations and sexuality. Given the background, the legal framework applicable on the European Union level, which could serve as the basis of legislating in the area of prostitution, is that related to gender equality. Therefore, I'm looking forward to hearing all the speakers in this session that will shed light on very critical aspects that need to be addressed and will help us take further steps in our greater cause to bring gender-based violence to an end, to which we must all stand united. Thank you so much.
Merci, Elena.